Hey everyone, how we doing?
Hello.
It's Sunday. Sunday. Week. Who knows? Who knows when this comes out? We're gonna be talking about Spider-Man.
What do you mean it's already
Obviously,
out?
we're not talking about the new movie that I've already seen twice. We're talking about the original Sam Raimi trilogy, the Mark Webb trilogy, and then
And not
the.
trilogy. There's only two of them.
Okay. Let me dream. Okay, let me fucking dream.
All right.
God. And then who's the director for the new ones? It's the same guy.
John Watts, I believe.
Yeah, it's the Watts trilogy. So we got Watts, Webb, and Raimi. WWR. Cool. We're gonna talk about, like I said, all of them. Me and King, since we're the boomers of the group, we're gonna talk about the
Yeah.
original trilogy. It'll be 5-10 minutes most among all of them, and then we will talk about the Amazing Spider-Man sequels or set of movies, if you will. And then lastly, we'll talk about. Lastly, we will talk about the MCU Spider-Man, who I refer to as Iron Boy. All right, with that out of the way, Dev and Marissa, you guys can do your child things. Well, no, Dev, not you. That'd be weird. Well, me and it's been a long day, guys. Okay, don't judge me. While we talk about this the Raimi trilogy. All right, King, you could start. We could talk
I
about
think.
the first one.
Yeah,
Oh, go
sure.
on.
This is pretty much like the. I think we could say it's the superhero movie that really kicked off superhero movies in the concept of this can be a big budget, big a real, big mass appeal kind of thing. Because obviously
Mhm.
we'd had previous things that people enjoyed, like the Superman movie from 1970, 78, the Batman movie from 89, the X-Men movie just a couple years earlier. But I think this was the first one that was really like, wow, everybody likes this movie. And it's like everybody's into this movie. It doesn't really matter where you're from or how old you are or whatever. And I think it was because they just made it like really accessible. It's like you don't need to be a comic book nerd. You can just be a casual dude who just goes to the movies, or a woman, just goes to the movies and just like sees some interesting enough characters, sees effects that were acceptable enough for their time, and decent action to some extent. And yeah, it was just an all around good movie, very strong start. This was before people started doing like sequel hooks at the end of every movie. So I thought that was interesting. It's like this movie actually just ends on like a relatively sad note that the you know a spoiler obviously, but like everyone's I'm sure seen it for the most part. Harry's dad dies. Peter chooses not to be with Mary Jane, and he just continues his life as Spider-Man, and that's literally it. No, post-credit scene. No, reawakening of a dead person to be brought back next time around. It's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a Spider-Man movie, and a perfectly acceptable one at that.
Yeah, I agree. We get if you follow the comics, I would argue it's a very faithful adaptation to the original comics with
Be
some
faithful,
deviation.
yeah.
With some deviation, of course, but again, very faithful to the original old 1960s, 70s, whenever they first came out. I don't know off
60s,
the
yeah.
top of my head. Yeah, they're very faithful. Again, like you said, it showed that a superhero movie could be big budget and it could be enjoyable and it could sell.
Mm-hmm.
And it did help that Spider-Man was still one of the top three most popular characters, even to this day. He is one of those very popular characters that just helped shape the landscape of superhero movies.
Yeah.
I will say that the story itself is very grounded and as grounded as a superhero movie could be. I guess,
Yeah.
because we see what's his name? William Defoe's character. I'm blanking on Green Goblin.
Green Goblin.
Uh, Norman Osborn. Norman
Oh
Osborn.
yeah.
He gets kicked out of his company,
Mhm.
and he's like, "You can't take me." The iconic line that's all over TikTok that kids don't know about where it's from. Where he's like, you can't kick me from this company. I made this company." And
Yeah, I
he,
believe he said to quote, "You can't do this to me. I started this company. Do you know how much I sacrifice?"
yeah, and I feel like that line, amongst many lines, is very relatable for people who got laid off or who've gotten laid off or just worked very hard, something only to get it taken away from them.
Mhm.
And we see how he turns into the Green Goblin. Again, I wasn't the biggest fan of the suit of the Green Goblin, but it's the early 2000s. There's only so much they could have done back then. It's only so much they thought of doing back then, so you can't really
Yeah,
fault it
I
for
know a
that.
lot of people were making a lot of Power Rangers comparisons back then, and I'm like, yeah, I see where they're coming from, and I don't disagree.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
it's
it
probably
wasn't.
still better than the Halloween type outfit that he had in the cartoon.
Yeah. Because the cartoon is like the cartoon is different, and it's easier
Yeah,
to just okay. It looks
100%.
better.
It looks more not necessarily realistic, but plausible.
Yeah, and then the line that's the iconic line where he's talking about how hero people love seeing a
Yeah,
hero, which is like true.
saw
In every,
this in the latest TV spot for No Way Home. The minute that J. Jonah Jameson doxes Peter, he goes down to get Mary Jane, and literally some woman's like, "Oh, grab him!" And then she tries to grab him. He pushes her aside. He's like, "Oh my God, Spider Man hit me!" And it's like, wow, it's like that's so 2021 right there. What the and your mic? Did you fix your mic?
is it fixed up?
It's okay now.
My bad. I'll try to
Um,
fix it. In.
all good. Yeah, that's generally the main idea of the movie.
Yeah,
Was very well done for what it was aiming to do. It was simplistic without being like stupid.
I have issues with the other movies, but in this movie, Mary Jane wasn't as annoying or as whiny as some
I
people.
think she wasn't as whiny, but she was very flippant.
Yeah, fair. Uh,
I mean,
we could talk.
I actually saw a tweet really recently. It's not 100% accurate, but it basically says she cheated on every man she was with in the movie. It's not fully accurate because technically she never cheated with Flash Thompson. She did just break up with him. But like, yeah, no, it's like she kissed Spider-Man when she was with Harry. And I don't know if she ever broke up with Harry formally before like kissing Peter.
Yeah, hoes ain't loyal. Just saying. Uh,
So Norman was right.
yeah, he was.
Hashtag Norman was right.
Uh, the Aunt May aspect of it all and the Uncle Ben aspect of it all. I guess we haven't touched on that. I
Oh
liked it a
no,
lot.
it's good.
I I didn't like because in the original Amazing Fantasy, it's the narrator who says, with great power comes great responsibility," essentially.
Well, my
And
understanding was that the original line appeared in like not in the narration, but like a tagline or something.
yeah, and
But I
and
don't
it
mind that they gave it as a line to the character.
I I don't mind it, but I mind it in this sense where now every Uncle Ben, if they don't say that line, they're like, "Oh, he's not really Uncle Ben. He didn't say the
Well, I
line."
mean, we'll get to it, but they didn't say it in the Amazing Spider-Man movie. They had
No, they
a
didn't.
variation, obviously, but
Yeah,
they didn't repeat it word for word.
yeah, and I kind of like that they didn't repeat it word for word because again we'll get into it over there, but
Yeah,
I liked it that they showed it, but I don't like how the fandom is basically saying if an Uncle Ben doesn't say it, they're not Uncle Ben, and it's like that's not
I agree.
no. Yeah, and Aunt May was great. I like how the Green Goblin, especially if we compare those villains to the ones Tom Holland has had, those stakes felt more realistic, more real. Like Aunt May could have died, right? When the Green Goblin kidnapped her and sent her to the hospital.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think
And
the whole thing was that she could have, I guess, but he was clearly not trying to kill her.
he was trying to defeat Spider-Man and
He was trying to
torture him, and
demoralize him.
yeah, but you demoralize him by killing his aunt.
Well, you could
I
have, but
mean,
like I think he wanted him to see her suffer because that would actually be worse in the opinion of the Goblin. But then he finds out, like, well, actually MJ is the one he cares about the most. It's like, okay, well, we'll just take care of her. And we'll make that
yeah,
whole choice thing at the end of the movie with the kids in the bus and MJ on one side, but then Spider-Man manages to get both, and the New Yorkers like help him out by throwing garbage at the Green Goblin.
yeah. And then Jay Jones. One thing we didn't touch on that we could after give our score and then go to the second one
Mhm.
is J. Jonah Jameson. A fucking
I
amazing
don't know how you
casting.
can say anything bad about J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah
Yeah,
Jameson. The man was perfect.
he was perfect.
Still
he was the
is,
great.
honestly.
No, yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah. He was a great cast. Um, and then we have Betty Grant in it. I forgot who plays her, and the other guy, the other actor who knew who he was Spider Man in the Daily Bugle, but kept it on a down low, basically. I can't get his name. It's fine. What would you
Bobby?
give this movie? Yeah, I think so. I think that
I
was
don't
his name.
believe he knew that he was Spider-Man though. He just believed in Spider-Man as a hero.
Okay. What would you give this movie?
Uh, a solid 8.
Solid eight. Yeah, I would agree with you. I'll give it an eight.
Yeah.
Eight
I
and a
mean,
half.
I think like just in terms of like all its technicals and its writing and stuff, I think solid 8, but like in terms of cultural impact, it's about as good as you can get. I mean, well, you already know this, but I was in India for a really long time. Like people over there actually like grew up with it like the same way that a lot of us here in like Canada or the US did. A lot of people have told me like, yeah, like, I learned a lot more English because I was interested in the Spider-Man movies. I love the Spider-Man movies, and then obviously years down the line, the MCU came over, and like that became a big thing. Kevin Feige talked about like how like when they're like doing certain things. I don't know if it was Kevin Feige, but it was some Marvel guy who talked about like when they prepare things to release in certain places, they do research into like how did people like it over there, and the fan crowd reaction to Thor arriving in the Wakanda battle in Infinity War is like something that's like, hey, it's super fucking loud, but it's like it shows that like people all over the world became super appreciative of hero movies, and I think Spider-Man deserves quite a lot of credit for that.
Hmm. Absolutely. And then from the Green Goblin was Spider Man's most iconic villain for several reasons. He's tried to kill
Yeah,
everybody. He's killed a love interest of his.
yeah.
To the second, I would argue personally, it's the second most. And what is it? It's not.
Doctor Octopus
Yeah, yeah, but yeah. So his second most iconic villain is
villain.
Doc Ock.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
We get that in Spider Man 2, and many Spider Man fans and even movie going audiences would argue that this is one of the. Well, they would argue that it's the greatest Spider Man movie made. I may not agree, but I understand the sentiment.
I think there
It
are aspects of it that are among the greatest.
Yes. So, do you want to start just the conversation on that and maybe the quick little recap, if you will?
I mean, yeah, as far as recap goes, yeah, like it's been like a couple of years since the first movies. Peter's been Spider-Man for a while now, but like he has a lot of trouble balancing it with his social life, and both kind of start fumbling a little bit. He loses his powers because of his self-doubt and his personal relationship struggle. His money is he doesn't have much of it. Everybody kind of just seems to hate him or Spider-Man, possibly both. And it's just a lot of struggle to like, the whole message being like, you got to be true to yourself and whatnot. Uh, Doc Ock, I think, yeah, fantastic villain, actually, really convincing. Uh, well, what wasn't CGI, if I remember correctly. They used puppets for the arms, but it looks
Yes.
very realistic. I thought they did a good job. Alfred Molina, the actor, was really good. And I thought his motivation was fine. Like obviously there was like the whole little like his brain control thing was fucked up because of the arms, but there was also like he did lose his wife, so like yeah, there's definitely a lot of grief going on in there, and like he actually saw her die and stuff. So it's like yeah, that's pretty traumatic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Your mic is messed up again, dude. Try again.
Can you tell shit, Mike?
No, that's even worse. Do what you can. I'll just quickly talk about it a little bit more. I think fundamentally, Spider-Man 2 is what a sequel should aspire to be like as good or better than the original, while not totally repeating the same story, not using the same story elements, taking what the original movie did, respecting them, and like building upon them to show that like this is a sequel. This is still what you love, but it's also different. It's evolved.
What about now?
It's a little bit better, I guess. Not much though.
What about now?
We can live with that.
Fair enough. Going back to what you said, yes, and it's not necessarily bigger in scope.
Nah, that sounds like shit, bro. That is echoey.
It is still echoey, but it's better than what was previously going on, and I don't know how he's going to fix it. So I'm just inclined to let him get away with it. But yeah, I agree. It's not as it's marginally bigger in scope, but not like significantly. So
Testing.
yeah, that's better.
Perfect. Okay. Mic issues. I don't have
It's a little echoey, but you know what? I'm not going to stop you again.
I will stop myself. Just talk about the movie while I try to fix my mic.
No, that one sounded fine. You can talk now. Okay, well, we're spending a lot of time figuring this mic thing out. Yeah, I think that's all I really had to say on the issue of this movie. I think the whole hook at the end with Harry finding the Green Goblin stuff and setting himself up to be New Goblin that he was in Spider-Man 3 was, pretty well done. As far as what did I? Oh yeah, well, I was gonna get to that at the end because that is potentially related to No Way Home, but yeah. So yeah, Harry Osborn, pretty good. Actually felt sorry for that whole J. Jonah. Not J. Jonah. John Jameson thing like gets left at the altar. That's pretty sad. Seemed like a decent guy, but I guess it was pretty. It's kind of what you expect at the same time. Alfred Molina again, good job as Doc Ock. Self-sacrifice was kind of tying together that whole lesson about doing the right thing. Spidey rates the movie 9 out of 10. I would be inclined to say 8.5 to a light 9 out of 10. Just splitting hairs a little bit, but that's just me. But yeah, no. Otherwise, solid sequel. Some silly, unnecessary moments, but ultimately not anything worth detracting from. I think it's a totally rewatchable movie, and I imagine Spidey feels the same way. So I am gonna jump to Spider-Man 3, which was probably at the time of release, maybe the most anticipated movie, or at least the most anticipated superhero movie ever, in my opinion. Could argue it for others, but yeah, like there was a lot of hype for this movie back in 2007 when it came out. People were like, "Holy shit, this looks awesome!" And then we found out like not only is Sandman going to be the villain, and obviously Harry had his setup, but Venom is in it. And man, if in terms of like Spider-Man's biggest villains, Green Goblin is number one, Doc Ock is number two, then Venom is 100% number three, no question about it. Right?
No question about it.
Cool. Do you want to like start this one, Spidey?
Sure. I hope my mic is good. I
It's
do
good.
apologize. I will fucking buy a new one when it's on sale. Yeah, Spider-Man 3 picks up where the first two left off. Spider-Man's doing his thing. He's getting better. We get introduced to the symbiote who basically attaches himself to an astronaut, and that astronaut it happens to be J.K. Simmons' character, J. Jonah Jameson's son. From
Not in the
there,
movie. In the movie, it just
yeah.
arrives on a meteor.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, you're right. I was talking about
Comics, I think. and the
Yeah,
cartoon possibly.
cartoon. Yeah, my bad. So yeah, it arrives. It finds a way to attach itself onto Peter. He gets this new ability and new power, and he's enjoying it. He's stronger. He's fucking physically better, I guess. We get introduced to Eddie Brock, who gets played by, for those who watch that 70s show, Eric Foreman. And we think we're gonna get this amazing build-up. We're gonna get Venom, how he looks in the comics, super big and muscular. We don't. We don't. Then we do get introduced. The issue I have with this movie is that it felt like it was all over the place. The villains they weren't connected in any capacity, and then they ended up being connected because we're going to kill Spider-Man, so let's just kill him. But there was nothing besides that connected them. I was there's a meme that became because of it. Emo Spidey. What was it in the little jazz club or whatever?
There was that. There was also the street dancing.
Yeah, the street dancing and then the piano playing and all that. It's just Spider-Man 3 is what's a very disappointing sequel. I can't think of any.
Not off the top of my head.
It was a sequel that did not live up to the name. It's like if you're going for Superman and then you end up getting My Little Pony. It's like, dude, what the fuck?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily that. But I think that it undersold on a lot of aspects that it promised to deliver on.
Yeah, it was just.
Yeah, it underdelivered on aspects it
And
promised. But yeah, I would say that I agree with you. When I was a kid, I did think that whole dancing shit was funny, but now it's like this is fucking stupid.
Yeah, and then the entire scene at the parade when he's kissing Gwen. I mean, Bryce Dallas Howard is cute.
Well, it is
but
Gwen.
yeah, but again, he's doing that. He did that with Mary Jane, and it's like, okay, it's just I don't know. With the
It was
second
definitely
part,
a big ego kind of move, and he didn't even have the symbiote at the time to blame it on.
yeah. So what the Spider-Man 2 did so well, it was that it expanded the character, and it wasn't bigger, but it was actually bigger in the sense that this movie
There's more going on. That's the thing.
Yeah. The third one basically reverted to just copying things that had already happened, and they're like, look, guys, you won't notice that it's basically some of the same storylines or same things we did in the previous one, right?
I wouldn't say they
Look.
were the same storylines. I would just say they were callbacks that were just not as entertaining.
Callbacks that lasted too long.
A little bit, I guess. I don't know. I think Sandman was actually good, but I think that they really messed up with the whole Venom thing.
Sandman was good.
Sorry,
but
I just want to say Venom messed up, and like Harry's whole thing was just kind of iffy. And and at the end he let Sandman go, even though Sandman I think is technically still a villain.
Yeah, he's still on the run from the cops.
Yeah, and plus he did try to kill people.
Yes, he did. So I was like, it had potential.
Yeah,
and just didn't meet it. What would you give the movie?
6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. Yeah, I agree. 6 out of 10. Were you able to give him my score for Spider-Man 2?
I think I told them you gave it a 9, and I gave it an 8.5 to split hairs.
No worries. Okay, so from this amazing trilogy, as a whole, it was a great trilogy. It did help expand the superhero universe in the big screen, which is always good.
It's good for like the really casual type of viewers. If you're like, hey, I want to watch like a superhero movie that's like straightforward to the point and doesn't require like pre-knowledge, this is a good choice alongside other kind of classic trilogies like the Dark Knight trilogy or the original Superman movies, stuff like that.
Yeah, there's no multiverse, or you got to watch 20 other movies to understand. You just watch the movies that came before, and you're good. from here we're gonna jump onto. I would argue all of our favorite Spider-Man, right? Dev,
Seems to
Marissa,
be.
do you guys agree? Did you guys like him?
Was it for the Amazing
Andrew
Spider-Man? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, we're gonna jump onto the Amazing Spider-Man, the first one, and then we'll jump on the second one. So, Dev or Marissa, who wants to talk about the first Amazing Spider-Man?
We're gonna let one of you start.
So
And you know what? Just because she hasn't been talking, I'm gonna call Marissa out to start.
Damn, okay. It started with him getting left at his uncle and aunt's place, and then his parents died, right?
Sort of,
That is
because
correct.
in a in a
We're not
deleted
talking
scene,
about that. We're not gonna bring that up though, quite yet, because that's in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
fine.
Oh, okay. Man is in like the yearbook or something because he's a nerd, and then he goes to Oscorp to find out more about his dad because he finds his briefcase and whatever. And then that's where he meets the scientist, right?
Connors.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kurt Connors, yes.
And then he gets bit by the spider. And he becomes Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Yay.
you described the first 10 minutes of the movie. Good job.
I know, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm not good at summarizing.
All right, that's fine, but you're gonna have to give your
Give us
actual
your
opinion.
I found Lizard Man weird. His eyes always threw me off.
She said it looked too human.
Because they were. Like, do you see them?
I would say that
No,
the
honestly,
movie.
I kind of understand where she's coming from, though. Like, I don't feel the same way, but I actually felt that way about the Abomination in the Shang-Chi movie. I thought his face looked too human.
Fair enough. Dev,
Just like
you were
look at him
saying
in look at him in Incredible Hulk from 2008, and then look at him in this movie. I know the character is undergoing evolution; he seems to be becoming more amphibian, but the face was too human in my opinion.
interesting. Dev,
Um,
you were saying
for a movie that came out so a while ago, was it 2012, 11, 12, so around
2012.
there? Obviously, over the years, and you can see it with the latest film, cinematography has really improved and really changed and shaped the way the industry is. But one thing that I've noticed is even when you watch clips of the trilogy, the cinematography within Spider-Man movies has always been top tier, and they've always been something that's kind of timeless in my opinion with how well they do it. And the way Andrew finds out about his powers and how and what he can do with them was really unique because it was on the train, which was fucking hilarious. So the woman's bra or shirt even. And it was honestly one of, I think it's my favorite iteration of how he kind of discovers his powers, as well as then the way he goes on to learning about what he can do. Because if I remember correctly from the trilogy, reason I didn't take part for those of you that are listening, I don't really remember the films too well enough to talk about them. But I remember that Sam would just randomly try and do these random powers, and they wouldn't work, and he would like fall off a wall. Like, he just kind of looked goofy and stupid while doing it. Whereas Andrew kind of went into it, and he fell into the, I'm not gonna say the role of Spider-Man, but he fell into his powers really simply and really easily and smoothly. It wasn't like some fumbling this, that, da 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 da, which I felt was
I
really
think he also like
enjoyable.
worked for it, and they did a good job of like detailing how like his practicing with the swings and the chains and the
skateboard.
on your
Yeah, his little training arc.
and skateboard. Yeah,
His little training arc was really good. I don't know how his fucking skateboard didn't break either.
Yo,
Whatever the fuck it
Magic.
was.
you know what? He's got that Spidey budget, so he was able to get that fancy skateboard. Going back to what you said, Dev, I do agree. They did a very good job of showing him actually working for
His
the
understanding
title.
of his powers.
Yes, they clearly showed. Okay, this guy doesn't know jack shit. He's not just gonna touch the wall and be like, "Oh, look, I'm sticking to it." He was asleep. Homie was having cold sweats because of the spider bite, and then he's stuck on the pole. And then he's like, "Oh shit!" And then his skateboard breaks and everything. So it was very well executed.
And I
And
feel like it used because Peter Parker is meant to be a genius. Like the dude's meant to be really smart. I feel
yes.
like the way he learned about his powers was a lot smarter than the other iterations because it played on he wasn't stupid about his powers. He would try something, he would know what he's capable of. He'd be like, okay, let me see if I can just push this. And like for example, with the training he did in the warehouse, when it started, he wasn't really doing anything too major, and then he gradually got better and started going into the chain slinging.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't just try and let me just go to this roof and jump off and try and shoot a web. You know, he actually uses brain with it, which then obviously is all about what kind of a character he is. He's meant to be smart and a rational thinker.
And then his fight style, which is something I do want to touch on, was very I don't even know this word, but he was very lanky and like spider-like with the way he would try to
His
zip
movements.
up, his movements and how he would try to like web up the lizard and do all these actions. It felt very spider-like, which is completely different from
It was very
Tobey.
sleek, which I was about to say. It's not like Tobey Maguire's, who's basically just like elbowing and punching and fighting like a street fight or something.
Yeah, so I like that the distinct difference. And then we got to talk about the one of the better parts of the film, the romance aspect, which I think vastly superior to the Sam Raimi trilogy.
I agree.
Fuck it, hell, she was not a whiny piece of shit. She was actually helpful. She was.
She also felt like her own character.
She did.
She totally was.
She
She
didn't
felt like
feel.
it wasn't that she was revolved around Peter now or the science, or she felt like she had her own like goals and ambitions, and she felt like her own actual
Anything,
character.
I feel like in the sequel, it's more that he revolves around her.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was not a damsel in distress, even though she technically was a damsel in distress, because like you guys said,
Yeah,
she
she was a
was
woman who needed a little help because something monstrous and
So
green was coming for her. It's like, yeah, nobody can really deal with that except for Spider-Man.
exactly. So yeah, that was fucking fantastic, and I love their little chemistry together, their little back and forth, and how he was like, "Well, you have to tell me who you are." No, I can't. It's a secret. Then they have that little spinning. He's like showing her. He's telling her he's Spider-Man without telling her he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I love the way he did that. It was great.
Shit, even that stuff with her dad was like pretty well done.
Yeah,
too.
it was. It was. He's such a great actor. I forgot his name.
Oh, the
but-
fucking dinner,
Theory?
bruv. The dinner.
Yeah.
that
Dinner was great.
It was.
Hashtag awkward.
They oh, the conversation. Oh, Spider-Man's a vigilante. No, no, he's not. He's like, well, okay, we're not gonna agree. So
I mean, he made a good point though. The father.
no, he
Yeah.
made great points, but I just found it funny how he's like, well, he's telling the dad, no, you're kind of wrong. And that's like, no, you're kind of wrong, and then
Yes, but no.
exactly. I just liked everything about that. I really liked how they showed the connection he had with Kurt Connors, the lizard guy, because it showed that he was connected to his father, and then that's how he was trying to get close and closure with his father and figuring out everything that happened to him. I liked how the villains, it actually made sense for them to be connected to Peter, because in the comics they usually are connected to Peter, and I feel
Somewhat,
like they did a great job illustrating that here. And when he used, and we're jumping around, and I do apologize to the listeners, but there was a sequence where he's in the tunnels and he uses a
in the
spider web
sewers.
and the sewers, yeah, and he's using the spider webs to sense the vibration to see where he is
And to
or
also
where.
activate the cameras.
So
Yeah.
again, he's using. He felt very much like Spider-Man. We could argue as Peter Parker. Sure, that's a conversation for a different day for listeners.
I would say it's Peter Parker knowing how to use his intellect
Well, I think what
to
Spidey is
abuse
referring to is
Spider-Man's
more
powers.
that people associate Tobey Maguire with like the nerdy Peter Parker, whereas Andrew Garfield isn't like that stereotypical 1960s nerd. The issue I've always had with that argument is that yes, that's correct, but at the same time, the movie came out in 2012. I think that stereotype of the super awkward, big glasses, big nosed Hollywood nerd was just kind of like A, overdone, and B, not very realistic anymore.
But his Spider-Man, his the he became Spider-Man to get revenge for his uncle's death.
Yeah.
Right? That's literally why he became Spider-Man in this movie.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he just realizes because he listens to his uncle's voice message, and we talked about this earlier, King. He basically told him, "With great power comes with great responsibility. I'm proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing." Yada yada yada.
When didn't actually say anything about responsibility. Yeah, his line in this one was like, not choice, responsibility. If you can do good things, you have to do them because that's
Yeah.
what makes the world go round and such. And like, yeah, that makes sense, I guess. I mean, it's obviously a different type of philosophy that people are free to disagree with, but it's the fundamental point is that when you can do something in his mind, you have to do it because it's the morally right thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I will say is when he first catches the guy he thinks is the killer of his uncle, he's in the little car and he's like, "Yeah, I'm clearly with the cops. A skin tight red and blue outfit."
Because you really think I'm a cop?
And he's like, "Oh, my weakness, small knives," and it's like that.
Then he just webs up the guy's crotch.
Yes, that is the
That was
Spidey
funny
banter.
as hell, honestly.
And he just starts pinning them against the wall. He's like, "Why didn't you talk?" Just webs his mouth.
And then and then when the cops come, he's like, "Oh, the boys in the blue are here. The boys in the blue," and then like, hands up. "Oh, you're after me. Oh, gotta go." And then,
but then he's like, "What the hell? I just did 80% of your job."
yes. Oh, dude, that he has the Spidey banter because Spidey is a talker. There is a comic issue where Spidey doesn't talk the entire time, and the villains are shitting themselves because they're like, "Why isn't he talking? Is he gonna kill us?"
Never read that comic, but it sounds interesting. And yeah, honestly, I guess if you're a villain who knows Spidey and he's not talking, it's like, wow, this is either not Spidey, he's gonna kill us or something.
Yeah,
Spidey, you good? Do you need to talk, bro? You be quiet.
And then at the end of the comic, you realize that it's because I have a sore. And then he's trying to talk to the officer who arrested him. "Oh, I have a sore throat. I can't really talk." But it's like these villains know if Spidey's not talking, you're kind of fucked because Spidey is a talker. So
like his whole thing is always like taunting them and throwing them off base and shit.
Yeah, he's a psychological asshole, and it's amazing.
He doesn't even realize he's doing it; it just works.
Exactly. All right. Any closing thoughts on the Amazing Spider-Man, Marissa? You didn't say anything.
Fantastic film in my opinion. Have nothing major to like say. Great ending. Love Dennis Leary. Love Emma Stone. Andrew Garfield. Reese Ifans, the guy who plays
the Dr. Connors. Sally Fields.
It was. She was good too. Martin Sheen, who played Uncle Ben.
Yeah. King, I mean, Dev or Marissa, any final thoughts?
I love the film overall. The banter is probably my favorite part about it, and it really does play into making the overall film more and more enjoyable because the comical aspects are something that makes Spidey who he is. Because Spidey, as we all know, is an extremely strong person, not just because of his powers, but just, strength-wise, not just because of his ability to use webs and so on, but actual strength. So when he adds in all this comical aspect, it's not necessarily that he's overconfident and arrogant that he's going to win it in the fight. It's because he's just having fun. And at the end of the day, Peter Parker's still young. he's not exactly the most mature person, but he knows when he needs to be serious. But it's a lot of fun when he's not being serious because you know that it's something that you can sit back and enjoy.
There's a comic, and there's a She-Hulk comic where he's on trial, and J. Jonah Jameson's the guy who's basically charging him, right? And he's on the stand, and he's like, "Yeah, J. Jonah Jameson hates me because I'm black," and everybody's like, "Oh, he hates black people." So Spidey's a smart ass little shit. So it's great. Boris, any final thoughts?
Should have kept his promise.
Oh, you're an asshole for that. You're an asshole for that. I just to go back full circle. The quote that he says that isn't the great power comes great responsibility is, "Peter, I know things have been difficult lately, and I'm sorry about that. I think I know what you're feeling. Ever since you were a little boy, you've been living with so many unresolved things. Well, take it from an old man. Those things send us down a road. They make us who we are. And if anyone's destined for greatness, it's you, son. You owe the world your gifts. You have to figure out how to use them and know that wherever they take you will always be here. So come home, Peter. You're my hero and I love you." So basically, the same message but in a different way, and I appreciate that they didn't basically do what the
Yeah, I
previous trilogy
appreciate
did.
like the attempt to not totally recreate the original Spider-Man movie from 2002. They did try to make it different and more new age, and they didn't always get it right. I think there are some moments that are just like this is just awkward to watch and listen to, but for the most part, I think they did a really good job.
Yeah, solid effort. They very and oftentimes remakes repeat what the first one did or what the original did, and this one try to deviate as much as they could. And yeah, like you said, it didn't always work. It wasn't a flawless film, but you know what? You got to respect the attempts, and you got to respect what they were able to do. With
Yeah.
that, what would you guys rate this movie out of 10?
Solid 9.
Yeah,
a
nice.
9. 9. Fair enough. Yeah, 9. I'm just gonna
One
be
question,
odd man
actually.
out. Yes.
So I feel like I've asked this before, but I've completely blanked and forgot the answer.
Oh, good.
What is with the different iterations and how they handle his webs? So in the trilogy, if I remember, his webs are organic and part of him,
Yes.
right? Now, why
Right.
is it that in
Be-
the duo, he's had to create a contraption for it? And if I remember correctly, I think Tom Holland's also does that.
Yes, that's
So
correct. The basic reason is that in the comics it is mechanical, and it's the Sam Raimi movies that just changed it to be an organic kind of thing. And I think the main reason to go back to mechanical was like A, differentiate it from Sam Raimi's, but B, also be a little bit more like this is like Peter Parker, like he's original, like you see the same thing, like he's big on tech, he's on his
Yeah, it
whatever
shows
like
his
yearbook.
brains and his actual ability
Plus he
to.
like even his like his the lock to his bedroom door is activated on his computer. Like he knows what's up.
yeah.
I
Never
guess.
forget, Spider-Man was supposed to be in the Avengers movie, but Marvel's a little bitch about it.
There's conflicting information. I don't think we should get into that.
I'll blame Marvel. It's okay.
But then now, in terms of how his web, so obviously maybe this might be a little bit too in depth, but the way obviously he's got all the powers that he needs as a spider when it comes to
Mhm.
climbing and all of that. For the web production, how does
He made
how
it
is-
on his own.
so is it, the web is something that he completely made on his own?
Wait,
Yes.
no, in the Amazing Spider-Man movie, he got it from Oscorp.
But
Oh,
what I
okay.
mean
No.
is it's made. What I mean though, it's made. It's not.
Yeah.
He doesn't create it within himself. It's literally
It's not.
an organically made.
It's not biological. It is an Oscorp Industries thing.
Okay.
There's
So
literally
he could
commercial
literally, you
work
could
in
actually properly run out of that mid fight.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another thing that gives you a sense of fear, if you will, because
True.
he could always run out, and it's like, oh shit, if he falls, he's gonna die because
Yeah.
yeah, and motherfuckers
Because
know
I
him.
was always wondering if whether or not, because I knew that the shooters were mechanical, but I was always wondering where the web itself came from. Because if he runs out mid fight, my it makes me think, okay, has he run out or has the mechanical just malfunctioned? But now
So
that I
it's
know he can
generally that
actually
he
run out.
runs out, and in
Yeah.
some cases of the cartoon, you can see him like reloading himself. He carries them like on his suit. So generally, like
I
if he
have
has an
seen that
extra
actually.
second or two, he'll be able to like restock. But yeah, it creates a bit of tension if it fails like right in the middle. Like it actually happened in the second movie with Doc Ock.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to fire in the middle of a thing, and Doc Ock hit him with a bag of coins. Well, that
And
scene
what's
was
the
kind of
point
weird because he
in?
was still able to hit. He was still able to like hold on to the wall, but his web wouldn't come out. So like one power works, but the other didn't. I didn't fully get that part, but I guess I'm splitting hairs unnecessarily.
Yeah, it's fine. So now we go to what Marissa said. Marissa, you know what? Did you already talk?
I have one thing. I have a question too. Did
Yes.
they
What is your
ever
question?
did they ever get the guy who killed Uncle Ben?
No.
Nah,
Mm.
sad.
At,
I will
at the
say this. This is one thing people like to bring up about the movies. Like, why does Spider-Man stop looking for the person who killed Uncle Ben? But I've always kind of taken it to be that he
He moved
not that he got
on, in
scared
my
necessarily, but
opinion.
he kind of saw the point that the police captain Gwen's dad was making, that like vigilanteism part was wrong, and that's why he focuses more on the lizard aspect, because that really is something only he can do.
Yeah, I agree. I don't
That's my
think
thing.
he stopped looking for the killer because he moved on or wanted to. I think it's just he kind of accepted that New York's a pretty big place, and his chances of finding that one person, especially if he's already raided a bunch of the gangs and not found him, chances of finding this one solo robber
Yeah.
is very low. So he's kind of just gone, okay, look, if I run into it, I'll run into him. But right now, I need to do my job properly, and I need to focus
Yeah.
where I need to focus. But I've got these powers. Let's not use it for selfish reasons.
At the end of the first movie, he's playing his uncle's recording, and that's when he makes peace with the fact that, okay, that shouldn't use this power, this gift that was given for a vendetta. So that's why he starts removing it and throwing it away, because he's never gonna forgive the killer, and he
Oh,
does want to
I
catch him.
completely agree with that, and I think you're right. I'm just mean that in the middle of the movie, he stops hunting the guy down. That's where I
Oh,
think
okay.
like the police captain's speech was like, okay, well maybe he has a point,
Oh,
even if
okay.
he
Fair
In
enough.
the
fundamentally
comics,
disagrees.
Does he ever find him?
Yeah,
I don't.
actually, it happens in the comics pretty similarly to how it happened in the Sam Raimi movie. He chases down like a car thief or something, and it turns out the same
Oh
guy
yeah,
was the
yeah.
one who had run past him in the fight promotion area, and he's like, "Holy
Okay.
shit! If I had stopped him there, then my uncle would still be alive. But because I was egotistical, I didn't, and therefore my uncle is dead."
Okay.
All his fault.
Essentially,
So with that, moving into the second movie,
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I love the opening sequence where he falls down and he goes
and then
slinging off,
starts
and then
swinging,
the whole of
and
New
yeah.
York is like, "Hey, Spidey! Hey, yo, Spidey! Hey!" Everyone's treating him like, yes, he is a celebrity within the town, but everyone's kind of treating him as a friend. Everyone's
This is
greeting
like
him
Friendly
as
the
well.
only
neighborhood
like
Spider-Man.
I just
Yeah,
want to say, like, this is also like the only Spider-Man series where like the public doesn't actually seem to hate him in any way. It's literally only like the Captain who hated him in the first one, but everybody likes him. But like in the first Spider-Man, in the Sam Raimi trilogy, it's been 50-50, and in the Tom Holland thing, it seems to be going down the wrong path. But we'll probably resolve that. But I just want to know, like, the reception among the public to Spider-Man seems to have been very positive.
Yeah, because they know Andrew Garfield was the best Spider-Man.
yeah.
Continue, Death.
But yeah, I really love that opening sequence just because it's kind of set the vibe for the film, the entire atmosphere for the film. While obviously the film does progressively get more and more serious, it does still set up the whole the fact that, like we mentioned, Spider-Man is a happy-go-lucky, not happy-go-free, kind of not careless character, but he's very open with how he with enjoying himself, and he tries to make it so that he's always having fun. So it's a really nice intro to a Spider-Man movie because everyone's just like, "Oh, yo, what's up, man?" Everyone's having a good day, kind of thing.
Yep.
Did you guys
Yeah.
think that Harry's assistant Felicia was going to be a bigger character than she was?
Yes.
And that was
Yeah, I
also the
did
plan
too.
for the sequel. 'Cause I don't know if
She
you
wa-
read the comics. Well, yeah, well, Spider-Man. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so in the comics, she plays Black Cat. Think of Catwoman from Batman, but with
Okay.
white hair. And yeah, but she was supposed to have a bigger role, but they cut some stuff. There was a lot of meddling from Sony. It feels very clear that there was a lot of meddling from Sony because they try to add so many things. Most of it, in my opinion, didn't work. There were some instances that didn't, but yeah, they added her. And then I don't remember the other stuff off the top of my head, but they did add other characters that would end up, if they had done future movies, would have become villains.
Okay.
What did you guys think of Electro?
Okay, so
Didn't
from
deserve
reading,
it.
Not the best villain we've had in Spider-Man movies, but not the worst either.
I didn't care for the dude's story or origin, his reasoning. I didn't care for that. I thought that was fucking wow. You know who you reminded me of? You know in Incredibles, you got a fat kid who becomes a villain. What's his fucking name?
What villain?
Yo, Mike, bro.
Oh, fucking hell. Seriously?
This dude. He just reminded me of him.
Syndrome.
Yeah.
Interesting.
My hero doesn't want to acknowledge me. Wah, wah, wah. He doesn't remember me. Kind of sounded like a little bitch. His powers were cool. And for being a movie from 2014, the dude's like look and design and the way it's, I'm just gonna put animated, I guess, because the dude is like his fucking makeup and shit is a lot better than what you get a lot of the times these days as well. For some reason, like there was a lot of more love put into the film now that you see than with a lot of movies these days. I do think as a villain he was pretty shit, but as an antagonist, I feel like he did his job. He gave Spider-Man the spotlight, and kind of Spider-Man tried to talk him around, but obviously it never happened.
His.
I mean, it was
is my-
working until
Is
he
my
got
mic
shot.
better?
What?
But still bad.
Yeah, it's still
Yeah.
pretty. It's better, but it's still bad.
All right. Well, I'll just say this so you guys could have a little discussion. But talk about his opening sequence as Electro, as in like he has the electrical powers and he's fighting.
Like in Times
Spidey.
Square.
Correct. Yeah. While I fix my mic.
Thought that was fantastic, dude. The best part of that scene, like actually all that scene is great, but the best part at the end is them hosing him down and Spider-Man putting on the fireman's hat. That was fucking great.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Marissa?
Hmm?
You were gonna say something earlier.
Nope.
Oh, I thought you were. Yeah, his intro was pretty good. Yeah, like I said, the way he came to be as a villain through Spider-Man just not really remembering his name and he gets pissy about it. I didn't really care for that, but the fight scene was good. It also really highlighted Spidey's brains again with the idea that the electricity was running up all the handlebars, and he makes note that he needs to stop people from grabbing onto him with his webs. Again, that plays onto how smart he is and that he's using it, and it's really well portrayed for Peter Parker himself, not just for Spider-Man, but for Peter Parker. And for me, it doesn't make a separation of Peter Parker and Spider-Man as two different people, but as one and the same person. Just one is obviously masked. He's just masked sometimes. Whereas with most superheroes, you kind of see them the hero side of him and then the non-hero side of the person. Usually are two completely different people. So it's kind of nice because it keeps it all as one. Yeah, the way Spidey thought. Yeah, exactly.
I hope my mic is better.
Yeah, this.
Perfect.
Yeah, it sounds fine.
Yeah. Yeah, the entire sequence, like you guys said, he had to be quick on his feet because the electricity was gonna hit everybody. The way he sees that his web shooters are busted, but he still has the brains to be like, all right, let me just put my finger in the middle and
One
then
was busted, the other one was working.
yeah. But he used the one that was busted to basically help the people with the on the
And, like,
bars and then
he split the one that was working to like make sure they don't touch the metal bars while the electricity is like surging through it.
yeah.
And yeah, saved them all. It was actually a very well seen, like perfect use of that whole Spidey sense slow motion kind of thing. I think a lot of people have, when comparing the two movies, pointed out that this is one of the things that this Amazing Spider-Man films did better is make really good use of like how does the Spidey sense work.
And like you said, King, the entire firefighter scene where he puts the hat on
Yeah.
and he's like, it was top notch.
Like gives everybody like a high five too. Like that was great.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
nice
and it exactly, and it shows that the firefighters and the people there are like
I appreciate
very
him.
appreciative. And you know what? Like, okay, he's here to help us, so yeah, let's work with him, as opposed to oh shit, he's a criminal, let's go after him.
Right.
Marissa, since you brought up the fucking promise, you asshole. We'll talk about that. No, we'll talk about that after we talk about what do
Harry
we talk
Osborn.
about? Harry Osborn, yeah. What did you guys think of Harry Osborn and his transformation as Green Goblin? Did you guys enjoy it?
I like the actor. I think Dane DeHaan, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, is a good actor. I've liked him in other stuff. And I don't think he necessarily did a bad job here, but I did feel like the Harry, it's kind of like the Mary Jane thing, or that he was very, I don't want to say, well, I guess I wouldn't say he was flippant, but he was very, almost like monotone in some way, but like through, like, I don't know, there didn't seem to be a whole lot of emotion in what he was saying. Even when he was like angry at Spider-Man and knocking shit off his table, I was like, what is this? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, he
That didn't,
seemed
and
calm.
also his transformation was just really ugly too. Let me just say that it was ugly as shit.
Yeah, he was an ugly Green Goblin, not gonna lie to you. Javer, Marissa, any thoughts on Harry as a character in the movie?
He's pretty cool. I do like him, and I like the. I'm not gonna call it development, but I'm gonna just call it his little path through the story, all the way through to when he finds Electro and he's like, "Hey, yo, you gonna help me? I'm gonna help you." Scratch my back, kind of thing. I didn't like his look though. Not it
Yeah, he
wasn't bad.
seemed
It just seemed
so.
rapey and scary and weird, and like
Yeah.
you don't want to run into him in an alleyway.
His eyes that were for me. Like his eyes were so baggy.
Now, random question, but do you guys like this look of Green Goblin or the original look of the Green Goblin?
I mean, you mean like this guy versus Norman Osborn in the first movie?
Yeah, you know how Norman had the Power Ranger suit, basically?
Yeah.
We're calling it that. Which do you prefer?
I mean, they both have their disadvantages, I guess. I wouldn't say that I necessarily prefer one over the other. I think it was probably.
You have to choose one.
I mean,
you
I
like
will
more.
say, like, I probably, in that case, if I have to choose, I will go with Norman Osborn in the first movies. It was not a good costume, but it was still better to look at than whatever crap they came up with here. I think not to like, I don't mean to be like too mean or nothing, but I think the makeup department really dropped the ball there.
I like the comic one.
I respect it.
I like the suit. I like the
nice,
suit's design, just because I am a fan of suits. Because I think that suits, if they're done well, can be really iconic and an iconic thing for characters. So I prefer the suits. However, I don't entirely remember it because I don't remember the films before. but I don't think that the look in Amazing Spider-Man was good. And I think it was more, like King said, I think it was more the makeup department. I don't think it's that it was bad or a bad choice of design. It's just that the
I
makeup
think they just
department kind of
needed
fucked
more.
it.
You just needed to
Yeah.
like redo it, make it more convincing, because this doesn't even really look like Green Goblin. This looks like some kid with a really bad rash.
Yeah.
I will say I don't think he was meant to be the actual Green Goblin. I feel like he was because in the comics, I
Sub
think
Goblin or something.
something like that. Because we do see that his dad is also ill and is also trying to get a cure.
Yeah.
And I feel like at the end of there was a post credit scene which pisses me off that was teasing the scene. I can't even say it, the Sinister Six, and one
Yeah.
of them was the Green Goblin. And I feel like his dad would
Oh,
have
I
been the
think he
actual
was
Green
going to
Goblin.
be the Green Goblin, and then the old man was walking by, and then there's like a suit for like vulture wings and a suit for Doc Ock, and there's the Rhino suit,
Mhm.
which we see later down the line with Paul Giamatti's character.
Yes,
Dude.
yes.
Dude, it genuinely upset me that there isn't a third movie because that ending sequence was like perfect setup for the
Yeah.
Sinister Six.
It fucking was, bro. It was.
Dude, can you embed? You fucking okay? Then don't fucking embed. Yeah, I was talking to Kuro about it yesterday because he watched the films with us as well, and the Sinister Six just as a gang
Mhm.
is really cool, and I feel like the film would have been such a good portrayal, especially of the fights between them. Because that
Is this the image from the movie? Oh, sorry, the
no
game.
no no no
That's
no
fan art.
yeah
It's fan art. Oh, okay.
because that rhino at the end, even though I won't lie, it looks a little shit. The machine. I feel like if we got another
I
movie,
actually thought it looked pretty convincing, like CGI wise,
I feel like
for
if we
its
got a
time at
movie,
least.
yeah, first time, but I still even it just
And
didn't.
now it's
I don't
I
think it
think
looked
it's too
that
bad.
great.
Yeah, fair enough.
I feel like if we had actually gotten a full movie of it, I feel like they could have improved on it and it would have been made a lot better.
Mm.
And it really, the fact that we got cucked out of the third movie. Do we ever know why they never made it?
Well,
So
from a
yes,
couple things, like one, supposedly there was some incident where Andrew Garfield snubbed a Sony executive, and they basically had
they
a
thought
personal
he
vendetta
snubbed them.
against him and fired him. And in addition, technically speaking, the movie didn't make as much money as they wanted. It did make a good amount of money, close to 800 million, but they were expecting it to cross a billion. So as a result of like quote unquote financial disappointment, they shelved all their plans.
So with the Sony leaks because they got leaked.
Yeah,
We do
because
know. Yeah, we do know that Sony wanted to keep Andrew Garfield. They 100%
there
wanted
were
to keep him.
people who wanted to keep him. Yeah,
Yes, I think Amy Pascal was one of them as well.
isn't
and
she with Marvel or
no, she's all Spidey.
okay?
Um, they wanted to keep Andrew Garfield, but like King said, there was an executive. Andrew was sick, and there was like some Comic Con or something that he had to
Something to that
attend,
effect. Yeah.
and he didn't attend it because he was ill. The executive felt dissed because apparently
Yeah.
he can't act like an adult, and he just basically had made sure that he got replaced. Because Sony for the longest time was trying to get Andrew Garfield in the Avengers movies. In the first Avengers movie, they were trying to get the the Osborn Tower
Mm-hmm.
next to Tony
Dark Tower.
Stark's Stark Tower. And then the second one, they were also trying to get him in, but they just couldn't come up with an agreement. So Sony was pushing for him to be in it, but things fell through. Then the Sony exec was a little bitch about it, and yeah. And the saddest part is Andrew Garfield made the least money as Spider-Man than the other ones. There's so many set photos and videos of him playing uh basketball with kids in the park when he's not shooting, and then him having fun, and then just interacting with the fans and showing that he really loves being the character. So it's like they did this motherfucker dirty so bad, and it's just it hurts, man. Like look, like the Norman Osborn's quote in the beginning of the Spider-Man movie, or like this is my company or whatever. It's like basically they took what Andrew did and just ruined it. But again, I'm just tangenting.
Mhm.
Sorry. But yeah.
Good.
Now we've talked about Harry Osborn. Do we want to talk about the fight sequence at the end and the death? And then
I mean, I
wrap it
don't
up?
know that we have much to add that hasn't already been said somewhere else on the internet necessarily. I think we would all just add like it was well done, really sad and unfortunate, but like I think it was to be expected.
Yeah. Marissa, you wanted to talk about the promise that he should have kept. You want to
I have
elaborate?
no sympathy for him.
Damn.
No sympathy.
What about for Gwen?
That's
Yeah,
her
this is
fault. Okay, he told her not to come, and she did.
Yeah, but if she didn't come, then they wouldn't have
Electro would
won.
have destroyed the city.
Okay.
We'd be okay. Then they all would have died.
She has no sympathy, dude. That's some fucked shit.
Teenagers
Marissa's
these
cold
days.
hearted. Nobody tell Marissa that you're sad. She'll just laugh at you.
To throw a Jesus CD
Yeah.
at you.
She'll do hand signs and then teabag you like.
She'll give you the improper hand signs.
That's crazy. I think that I've never heard that take before.
What?
I've never heard that take where he deserved it. It's her fault for being stupid. I've never heard that.
I hear trolls saying that all the time.
Yeah, but I don't count trolls as people.
I don't disagree with the idea that it is her fault at the end of the day that she did die because she did
But
get
isn't
involved.
that almost kind of like her point? Like her whole arc in that movie has been about making her own choices.
Yeah, no. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying that it is her own fault that she's dead, but it was necessary. If she wasn't there, then he wouldn't have been able to do what he needed to do. So it was a worthy sacrifice.
Wait, I think I was laughing during that scene. I don't remember.
I think you were.
Oh my god, you're dead inside. You're
Yeah.
fucking dead inside.
Feel sorry for whatever guy you end up dating.
Oh yeah, here we go. Here it is. Here's a comment. I found it.
The actual scene itself was very graphic. The actual scene itself, when her neck actually snaps, is very graphic. I was like, damn.
With the blood coming out her nose as well. Oh.
Yeah, it was F in the chat for Gwen. Yeah, what did you guys give this movie? We could just wrap it up here.
I still like it despite its flaws. I think it also goes to Dav's earlier point about like the cinematography in the movies of Spider-Man all being really well. This movie probably exemplifies it, that even in the worst kind of movie where it's like maybe not structured the most effective and compelling way, it still looks really fantastic. It's still really well produced and well made. I would give it a solid 7.
Yeah, 7. I'm maybe pushing an 8. I think if it comes up to an 8 for me with Spidey's interactions, it just gets brought down because Electro to me is just a shit fucking villain.
I would give it a 9. I really liked it. I liked you're right, Dev, in the sense that the introduction to Electro was very Riddler from Batman Forever, I think, right?
Yes.
But
I mean, don't you think that that's a bit of an exaggeration? Because Jim Carrey in that movie was super fucking silly.
No. I'm saying the way he was introduced.
Oh.
They're introduced
Actually,
similarly.
you know what? I would agree with that. That's a fair comparison.
I would agree that the introduction was lame, weird, but his fights with Spider-Man were actually really good. Spider-Man had to use his brains, and Gwen also showed how she was his equal,
Dependent and independent.
and independent, and his equal, and helped him with the shit because she's the one who made the electric absorbent web shooters, I think, or helped make them, which was great. And and then the fight scene at the end where he's fighting Electro and Electro's playing the Itsy Bitsy Spider song, and Andrew's like, God, I hate this song, and then they're just fighting. The death was gruesome as shit, and it's something I didn't expect in the movie, to be honest. I expected her to die, but I didn't expect her to die like she did in the comics. I mean, she died more graphic in the goddamn movie than she did in the comics. So overall,
my
yeah,
understanding in the comics was that it's because in the movie she smacked her head again. He caught her too late and she smacked her head into the floor. And
yeah,
that's what killed her. But like with
And
the
also the
comics,
Force.
yeah, that too. But like with the comics, it's like he dropped her over a bridge, and Spider-Man did catch her, but because like of the force of like the fall and
hmm
the
yeah,
I don't know what the word is, but like but when he caught her, like her neck still snapped, but it snapped in the air, so you don't have like a nosebleed or anything. But she has died in a similar kind of fashion, but it's not as visibly brutal.
yeah. No, yeah, she
'Cause he
died
also didn't know that she died in the
in the
comic. Like
comics.
he was
Yeah,
actually
he
like
thought he saved her.
congratulate. He was no like he thought he was congratulating himself. Then he realized she wasn't responding, and he was like, and that's when he realized, oh shit.
No, yeah, because in the comics he tries to, he pulls her up thinking he gets her by the ankle and thinking he saves her, pulls her up, and then he
Melissa,
has
you're
this,
such a fucking troll. I just read your comment.
and, and then it ends with him saying the first time he's like, I will kill you, Green Goblin. You will die at my hands. So it wasn't as graphic as the movie, but I was like, damn, I was still impressed. I fucking recognized the suit that Gwen was wearing in the movie, and I was like, I've seen this before. And then she died, and I was like, oh, that's where I saw it. So
Yeah.
I put in the chat. Yeah, so 9, and then they gave it 7s all around. Again, I'm a little more biased towards Andrew.
Mhm.
Get over it.
It's
It's
fair.
fine.
Honestly, well, I mean, I will agree with that. Like, if this had been like a Tobey Maguire movie, this would be like a 4 out of 10, maybe. Maybe not a 4, but like a 5 at best.
Fair.
I
Oh,
think
with
Andrew
that,
Garfield and like the whole romance in the movie was still like really good. I think
Mhm.
the bridge scene with the webbing, I thought that was like the best thing in any Spider-Man movie in terms of like romance, and I don't think they're ever gonna do better. But yeah, I think he made this movie a lot more watchable.
yeah, he's a very great actor. He did elevate the movie because the script was lacking a bit, and there was some sus moments, and sus in the sense that it's like that could have probably been written better, but he did the best he could. We were gonna talk about Tom Holland, but it's an hour and a half already, and we really don't want to talk about Tom Holland. Maybe I'll
Yeah, I
change my
mean,
mind.
I feel well. I mean, I don't feel like we have to talk about him necessarily because we've already talked about him a fair amount in the regular podcast, so people probably know all of our opinions. Maybe not Marissa's or Dav's necessarily, but do they have anything they want to add? Because I feel like you and I can kind of just step out of this one, Spidey.
Nah,
Fair
I've
enough.
also talked about it, but I feel like what we could do is save that for next. Well, it is almost next year, but save it for once we've all seen the third one,
True.
No Way Home, because it's something that we can do. Because it's kind of goes into because then there's the prequel coming out, so we could do it just before
Yeah,
the
the
prequel.
TV series.
Yeah, so we could do because then it would be talking about Homecoming, No Way Home, and well, Far From Home, No Way Home, because there's obviously all like they
Yeah, all
go
three.
in order. So we could do that, and it would be like we could do that for one of the fun podcasts
Sure.
just
Yeah.
before the prequel, or even after the prequel. I don't know. It depends. We'll
So
see.
we'll see what the release date is for the
Yeah.
prequel thing TV show. Yeah, I'm down with that.
Yeah, I haven't seen the other two. Anyways.
Well, they're on like Disney Plus, and I think they might even be on Netflix. I don't know about the US, but check it out.
They're not in the US Disney
Oh,
Plus.
I think
Not
they're on.
yet.
They're not. Well, they're in Canadian one. So if you have a VPN or whatever.
I'll see.
All right. Mm-hmm.
All right. I guess that's it. So for you guys, remember with New Year's, behave. wear your mask if you are going out. But bear in mind that you want to try and avoid the crowded areas. If you are going to be drinking, make sure that wherever you're going, that people know where you are. Don't go places without telling people where you're going, so that if something happens, they know where you are. And drink responsibly. And if you're going to be doing any drugs, don't. But if you are, be safe about it. And enjoy the rest of the year.
Don't
Have a
drown.
great weekend, guys, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays,
I
buddy.
don't know
Merry
which channel
Christmas.
you're going to see this podcast, but like we hope you all have a fantastic December.
Yep. Stay safe. Don't do anything stupid. Or do it at home. Just make sure you don't.
Just don't burn the house down, whatever you do.
Yeah.
See ya.
Make good food. Bye.
Bye.